Okay, so the start of the trailer for Six Underground does not inspire much confidence. You can tell right from the start that Ryan Reynolds is going to give you a very flat and poor performance. I mean, his expressions don't change across the whole trailer. I bet you when he gets to that sex scene in that other place, which actually looks good, he's probably going to be like, just like that. I mean, we all know Ryan Reynolds is probably not a very good actor. He's just there because he's connected, one of those legacy children. But if he's the lead of this movie, imagine what else is on offer. Those other 5 or 6 guys who are probably not much. Apparently they're named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with Reynolds being 1, the other guys being 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually rumored that Netflix is going to create a franchise from this with Ryan Reynolds as the lead. My advice to them is please stop, no and don't, because we're not feeling that. You're going to waste your money. People are not going to watch this. Let me tell you why in this trailer reaction. Stay tuned. Okay, so like I said, this movie is coming from Netflix. Netflix is not really big on movies. It's actually big on series. So let us look at the top 10 movies that have come from Netflix today to give you an idea of the game that you're playing here. Okay, let me just wait for my page to load with the information. Do you recognize any of these movies? Please let me know in the comment section. There's Boyhood with a rating of about 100, right, from Metacritic. There's a movie called Roma. Number 3 is Mean Streets. Number 4 is A Separation. Then there's Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver actually comes out in a lot of lists. It's actually probably quite good. There's Pulp Fiction. I'm sure a lot of you know that. There's Schindler's List. I know some of you know that. There's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. I don't know if it's a Netflix movie. I doubt, but it probably was distributed on it. This list actually just has both. You've got Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Platoon. As you can see on the list of top 10 Netflix movies, there isn't much to talk about, so it gives you an idea of what to expect from these guys with Six Underground. Then it also doesn't help that vigilante movies don't usually get high ratings or don't end up being very interesting movies, like on the level of the top movies, because the plot is usually very simple, narrow, and restrictive. It's somebody who is trying to actually solve problems on their own outside authority. So to give you an idea of what you'll be getting into here with Six Underground, we look at the top 10 vigilante movies in terms of ratings, right? Number 1, there's Django Unchained, right? Then you've got Taxi Driver again coming out. I'll probably have a look at this movie. It's probably good. Gran Torino, Taken, The Boondock Saints, Man on Fire, Denzel Washington. He actually does quite a lot of these vigilante movies. The other one is Equalizer 1 and 2. You've got Kick-Ass, which is a bit of a comedy. You've got Falling Down, and you've got Dead Man's Shoes. As you can see, most of you have not watched a lot of these movies. Again, let me know in the comments if you've watched more than half of these movies. Then you're probably really big into this. But as you can see, with Django Unchained at the top, yes, a decent movie, but really nothing to talk about. You then know that you're dealing with a genre that's not very good in itself. So okay, less criticism for Netflix and Michael Bay on that one. I'm actually gonna talk about Michael Bay. There's quite a bit to talk about him. So this is what you're looking at. So it actually comes with the territory. I mean, if you're in a certain part of town, you can only expect a certain type of outcome. So you're in the vigilante movie town, and it's just lame. Okay, so before, I know I started by going out at Ryan Reynolds, but we're now looking at the plot of the top 3 vigilante movies to actually give you an idea of the restrictions that these guys come across. Sometimes when you're doing some of these things, there's a limit to what you can really do. Django Unchained, this is the plot. With the help of a German bounty hunter, a freed slave sets out to rescue his wife from a brutal Mississippi plantation owner. That's like I'm sure so many movies have done that. Taxi Driver, a mentally unstable veteran, works as a nighttime taxi driver in New York City, where the perceived decadence and sleaze fuels his urge for violent action by attempting to liberate a presidential campaign worker and an underage prostitute. Okay, that's a bit more creative, but it's still just somebody rescuing somebody and taking the law into their own hands. Then there's Gran Torino, which I think is the stupidest of the plots at the top of this list. I mean, it's number 3 in terms of ratings. I'm sure Clint Eastwood either was good for his time, such that these votes came in way before the competition came in, since there probably no people watching this 1972 movie anymore, or it was executed well. I might be tempted to look for it and see exactly what happened. It's like, with Apple phones, stupid phones, but the execution, the bodywork, everything is nice on the marketing, so people end up buying them for 5 times their worth. So probably that's what happened here. The plot goes: a disgruntled Korean War veteran, Walt Kowalski, who's Clint Eastwood, sets out to reform his neighbor, Tao Lo, a Hmong teenager who tried to steal Kowalski's prized possession in 1972 Gran Torino. So it's somebody being mentored, somebody, yet he's also probably a bad guy, maybe, retiring, disgruntled war vet. Reminds me of Training Day, something like that. So we then move on to the 6 Underground plot to see how much it deviates from these types of plots, which are the best in the vigilante genre. 6 Underground's plot goes: 6 billionaires form a vigilante squad. Wait, 6 billionaires form a vigilante squad. I mean, I understand Batman, right? And this whole vigilante move, but 6 billionaires. Where are you going to get 6 billionaires who are going to leave their billionaire life and become vigilantes? I mean, this is pretty stupid. After faking their deaths in order to take down notorious criminals. I think of the top 3 that I've mentioned, this is the stupidest plot. Let me know in the comments below if you think it's better than Gran Torino or Django Unchained or The Taxi Driver, of which touch ye not The Taxi Driver. It's appearing on a lot of lists. If you want me to watch it and review it for you, let me know in the comments below. But I think 6 Underground has got the stupidest plot and probably won't make it into the top 10. That makes its rating over around the 7.2 mark if it's lucky. But I'm actually about to talk about Michael Bay, and if he wasn't involved, I'd leave the rating at around 6.8, 6.9. But since he's involved, looking at his history of tanking ratings, we'll probably leave this at around 6.5 for a rating, which is not worth your time, right? Now, Michael Bay. I think the Transformers franchise actually gives people the wrong idea of Michael Bay's career in terms of its success. I mean, it seems like with the critics it doesn't do well, but he does come across these franchises, a lot of explosions and actions that actually make him a lot of money. He's responsible for the Transformers franchise. He's the director there. You're looking at Transformers: The Last Night, Age of Extinction, or whatever. If you look at the ratings, they're very poor, around 5 point something. And I'm sure you can agree that The Last Night was a snooze fest. I remember actually getting laid during The Last Night because I watched it at home with my girlfriend, and she actually got bored that she interrupted me through the movie. So if you really are looking to score with a chick or with a guy and you want to call somebody over, get the Transformers movies or Michael Bay movie, because they're not really worth watching. Outside that, the recent movies that he's done in the last few years are Pain and Gain, which is another poor movie, and then one that I actually watched, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. It was actually scrambled in terms of the way that things were going. Yeah, you could tell that soldiers were trying to hold, I think, an ambassadorial mansion against attacks in some Arab country there, but the way that things flowed and unraveled, and even the way that the whole movie was shot, was just all over the place. Actually, when I watched it, I didn't actually know it was Michael Bay, and I actually just watched to push time. Now to actually see his name there while I'm doing my research, I'm like, whoa. There's some things out there that you can't really fit to a name, and that's one of those movies. So if anything's to be tied to 6 Underground, is that it's Michael Bay, and he's very bad with the critics. So expect this movie, especially with what I've seen in the trailer, to tank, because Michael Bay is just directing rubbish these days, even though he's got a way of making money. Like I said, Apple gadgets, they are rubbish, but they make a lot of money. I can also think of Audis and BMWs and other crap that I'll probably review, later on. So I once was at the 6.87 rating for this movie. Let's tank it a bit and leave it at 6.5. So I'm going to tell you my verdict as to exactly how you should watch this video, because there are different ways that I'm going to be recommending, because different ways entail you paying different amounts of money. I don't know in which part of the world you are, but in where I'm from, a place that I won't tell you because you'll actually give me some heat. Different ways of watching movies have got different costs, so that's how I'm going to be recommending my things. Okay, so back to focusing on the trailer. We've already seen that the foundation is very weak. It's going to lead to a series of unfortunate events. Remember that Jim Carrey movie. Thank you. Remember that Jim Carrey movie. This is probably what's going to happen with this flick. I bet you cannot hold your breath for as long as it takes for this trailer to actually get to the point. It wastes a full 45 seconds from the start. In trailer land, 45 seconds is like light years, right? It's like 50 light years. 40 seconds on a trailer and they haven't even gotten to the point. They're trying to get us interested in the first scene where they're in that funny building doing things that don't look possible, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let me know in the comments below if you're actually able to hold your breath for as long as it takes this trailer to get to the point. And I'm back to Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's the lead character and he's crapping all over this video. You remember when he actually gets to the part of the trailer where he's like, do you know what? I know what it is to be dead. Do you know what it's like? I don't know, something like that. Only that you're alive. I think that doesn't actually fit into the context. Then he goes on to say, the best thing about being dead is the freedom. I mean, how many freedoms can you get acting dead than when you're a billionaire? And telling that to 6 billionaires, that shit doesn't make sense. But even more importantly is his expression. Check the expression on his face. I mean, I'm not gonna put that video there. The copyright strikes and all that. I'm still a new channel. I don't want no problems. The expression on his face when he says the best thing about being dead is the freedom, you can see that there's no life there, right? More so when he's in that car chase or when he's shooting people and all that, when he's like, do you see what that guy is doing? Do you see what that guy is doing? Something like that. Look at his face. He's like, do you see what that guy is doing? Do you see what that guy is doing? I mean, this is an intense part of the flick where you're supposed to be getting all emotional and getting people involved in your character. He's not really pulling that off. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm being harsh on him, but I think it's utter crap. Okay, so Netflix said it's going to turn this into a franchise, right? But the way they're going about the storyline means whatever is happening in 6 Underground is going to go stale very quick. I mean, there's this part where actually it seems like the identity has been exposed or confirmed by the bad guys. Of course, when that other person says these 6 people disappeared, whatever, right? It means that these kids or whoever is rolling with Ryan Reynolds might not be in the next franchise. Expect maybe half of these kids to actually die. After they die, the question is, what's next? Is he going to go and find other billionaires, or who else is he going to go find to actually do the other part of the franchise? And then there's this other part where they say people will not remember us, but they'll remember what we've done. That's not actually in line with the fact that they've been exposed. That's a few frames back in the trailer. You see some inconsistencies in the script there, but more so, it means that whatever they're going to have to do that has to be remembered is going to have to be epic. That's creating a sense of expectation in the viewers that will lead potentially to a lot of disappointment. You know, when you promise somebody something big and then you don't deliver, it's gonna be a problem. It's like you've got a girlfriend, you're dating, she's not expecting anything but your love, attention, and time. Next thing, you're introducing her to your parents. I mean, she's probably gonna see wedding bells, and a ring and something like that. And if you don't deliver that within the next week, you're gonna be dumped, right? So what is it that they could actually do with Michael Bay and his explosions that can actually make them not be remembered, but whatever they did actually be remembered, whatever shit like that. If you look at what Michael Bay has done in the past in his action scenes, 13 Hours, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, when you look at Transformers, I mean, what has really been done in those movies, action-wise, plot-wise, endgame-wise, no, not Avengers, they can actually stay with you and actually justify watching this movie. They've created a very, very bad situation for themselves here where they're going to have to deliver something epic. On what scale? I don't know. Which movie do you think had a scene or had an end game that can actually match what Ryan Reynolds is actually trying to promise the crowd here? Let me know in the comments below. I don't think that anything can be matched here. It's like they're lost. They're in a hole and they're digging deeper second by second in this trailer, man. Okay, so on to the cliche scenes. The scene in the desert where they attack, I think it's those Arabs. I mean, can you come up with new, interesting adversaries? We are paying you millions of dollars to create this stuff. I mean, look to Gotham or James Bond for some interesting adversaries. You don't need to create a new monster like, Michael Bay is probably going to do, create some robot somewhere. As you know, he's coming up again with the movie called Robo-Apocalypse or some crap like that. I'm gonna get to that later if the Google algorithm lets me, But create some new adversaries, some cliche stuff. And then there's a cliche moment where I think actually Arya Stark makes an appearance in this movie where that girl, whatever her name is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, is asked, "Who are you?" by that villain. That's that guy. I actually like him. I didn't actually take time to review him, but I like that guy. We might talk about him later. She's asked, "Who are you?" And then he's like, "You're no one." I'm thinking, the girl does not have a name. Arya Stark. I don't know. We also go to the fake scenes. It's going to be infested with that as well. You see Ben Hardy running down that building, which is dome-shaped at the top, with nothing attached to him. I mean, how the hell do you do that? I'm going to be waiting for an explanation, because even if it's in his shoes, what magnetic thing does he have that actually attaches to concrete? I mean, you'd think these guys would think that they are showing this movie to people with brains. So in addition to the poor emotional performances and the lame plot, it's not really looking good for 6 Underground. Right now, I'm failing to deal. I've just died at a die. I'm done. Okay, so we touch on the theme song. A lot of people are probably wondering what that was. It's a song called Blah 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 from Armin van Buuren. It's actually not a song. It's actually like a chant. Those red Indians, they were like, something like that. Let me read out the chant lyrics for you. All we ever hear from you is blah blah blah. So all we ever do is go yeah yeah yeah. And we don't even care about what they say, cause it's yeah 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 blah 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 blah. That's the whole song. And it's repeated 24 times. I don't know. Okay, so this is a very shallow song for a movie where people want to do serious things like, killing people. You're trying to deal with villains who are affecting the world like James Bond, and you've got a song like this going yeah 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 ga ga. A bit of credit to them. Yes, it's a bit in line with what they're saying, that they don't want to report to any authorities. They want to be vigilantes. They want to go out there and be free and do whatever they like. But it sort of like gives that immature feeling to the whole thing. You've got a shallow song with no lyrics, probably because Netflix, that's what they can afford. I mean, these guys are churning out 1 billion movies like Nigerians and Koreans and Indians. So I mean, maybe money is a factor, but this song is shallow, in keeping with the shallowness of the movie. Yes, to your credit, but overall, for us to rate this as a theme song, it's 5 out of 10. I mean, it's like a nursery rhyme for people who are trying to go out there and murder something. You think that they're actually going after rodents, after checking this out. Then also to rate the genre, I mean, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's an action movie, but it's not really serious. I mean, when you're watching the trailer, you can actually feel, that heat. You can't feel that emotion. You don't get engrossed in it. It's not something that you'd pause before going to the toilet. You know what I'm saying? You'd actually go there and spend some time in the toilet, do one, two things before you actually come back, and you won't mind that the movie is actually progressed. So this is not a movie worth your time. It's not a movie worth being serious about. So how should you watch it? Please do not go to the movie with your girlfriend to watch this, unless you either want to risk getting dumped or actually getting some love, because she'll probably get detached from the screen and maybe want to concentrate on you. I mean, it depends. If she's a freaky girl, you're gonna get yourself some. If she's not, you're not going to get many brownie points. Don't hire this as a DVD. It's not actually that worth it. I don't know. Don't go watch it in the theater. Don't watch it on a laptop. Get the bootleg version, man. Get the bootleg version from that dude on the street that gives you that porn hookup. Just burn it on a CD. Burn it on a CD, man. I'm done.